A very good evening to everyone. My name is CA Harshita A. Jain, and me, along with my co-coordinator, CA Pallavi Todi, invite you all the day 4 of the GST litigation course. The topic for today is appellate remedies and relief, and we have an outstanding speaker with us, CAA Jatin Christopher, who would brief on the topic. Firstly, I would like to invite CA Nitesh More, sir, President Views Exchange, to please open the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Arshita. I think there is some background is coming, voice is coming. If we can mute it. Somebody is, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Arshita and Pallavi. We today is the 4th session of the GST litigation course. We had very eminent speaker of India who has vast knowledge, CA Jatin Christopher, sir, who has given the consent. Thank you very much, sir, for giving the consent. We have the chairman of the session, Jay Agrawal, also, who has joined. So, request Jay to before Jay speaks, let us introduce both of them, please.
Yes, I would request CA Pallavi Todi to please introduce our chairperson, sir.
Thank you, Harshita. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I just give a brief introduction of CA Jay Agarwal ji. He has a experience of 6 years in the field of GST and service tax and international taxation. And he's also a very active member of training teams pan-India level and also conducted various trainings with the big corporate houses on the subject of taxation and accounting. And he is a selected faculty member of Indirect Taxation Committee of CA Institute for GST training. He is also an active member of various study group of Chartered Accountants of India, indirect taxes dealing in GST research, representation to government and publication of books, etc. He is currently a managing partner of Agarwal Jain Company, looking after various advisory and compliances litigations in the field of service tax and GST. I once again welcome Jay Agarwal ji, and with that I would request him of his opening remarks.
Pallavi ma'am, it was so nice of you to introduce me, but we all know that Jatin sir is like all of our mentors, who is present over here to educate us through the matter of going us through this ongoing litigation of appeals and everything. It is very understood that the newness of the chapter of GST needs so much of the study where we learn, unlearn every day. And this itself speaks about the importance of appeals, where litigations are coming up every day. When earlier in West Bengal, there was no notices for, like, there was a dryness, deserts of notices, and all of a sudden there has been a greenery of the notices under 61, 65, and then now we are moving ahead towards the appeals under section 107 and thereafter, where departments are continuously visiting also in our premises. They are raising concerns about the fake credits. They are raising concerns on the valuation. They are raising concerns on the POS chapters and other topics as well. I would like to request Jatin sir to help us through this, how to draft the appeals, how to, what are the importance, what are the key take points while taking care about these appeals. And over to you, sir. Please help us with this.
Just interrupting in between, I would just request Harshita to introduce Jatin sir. Though
yes,
definitely
it's no introduction, but still.
It is my pleasure to introduce sir. I'll just read out a brief profile of his. CA Jatin Christopher sir is a chartered accountant, cost accountant, and a law graduate. He qualified in the year 1996 and specializes in indirect tax laws. He's a published author and a resource person for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India in its various post-qualification programs on indirect taxation, and extends support to ICAI in publication of educational and research material on various indirect tax topics. He's also a resource person for the government in conducting training for practitioners, trade, and officers. Sir has been in practice since 2000 as a partner in JCSS, which is a full-time service firm with presence pan-India. So we're very, very obliged to have you, sir, on board with us, and we would like to hear as much as possible from you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I want to first thank Nitesh ji for inviting me to come and be part of this very thoughtful initiative to disseminate knowledge among participants by drawing from other eminent faculty from all over the country. It's Nitesh ji's ability to attract the best minds to come and offer their services to members. It is in their midst that if I get a few moments to share some of my confusions about this law, I think that's my privilege. I acknowledge Jayesh ji's remarks about the importance of this topic, and I'm sure that he says that with much contemplation, because appeals is something that not just in West Bengal, in rest of the country as well is about to see a surge. And it's very timely that Nitesh ji has visualized a program along with his team to visualize a program like this, to go and do a deep dive into all aspects that the members need to be appraised about. I'll take this opportunity also to make a mention that we won't read the statutory provisions. We have to look at, we have to discuss, accepting that all participants are experts in this subject on their own merit and in their own areas of practice, in their own fields of influence. They have dedicated over the last 6 years many thousand hours to develop that expertise. So I consider it a responsibility to bring something of a little more value so that members who are participating this evening are able to build based on that and offer their services to taxpayers. We're not going to look into the approach to drafting appeals, but before that, we need to understand the purpose of appeal. What is the remedy that is allowed in the statute? What is the relief that a taxpayer can expect in appeal, particularly in the context of GST law? How significant appellate remedies in GST can be? Let's start by asking ourselves this question, and I would encourage everyone to ask this question every single time a client approaches to file an appeal. Why should we file an appeal? I'll give you some wrong reasons why appeal should be filed. I don't like the decision of the adjudicating authority, so I will file appeal. To file an appeal is my statutory right. That is why I will file appeal. I can't afford to pay this demand. That is why I will file appeal. I want to delay the process. That is why I will file an appeal. There are any number of chartered accountants who are happy to file an appeal, so I will file an appeal. Friends, these are the wrong reasons to file an appeal. If we know what is wrong, then we will focus on our efforts to see that we don't step into that territory. The reason why appeal must be filed is when there is a failure of adjudication. There is a failure in the adjudication process. There is an error on facts. There is an error on law. There is a, look at these aspects, misunderstanding of facts and applying the correct law to the wrong facts, misunderstanding the law and applying the wrong statutory provisions to correctly understood facts. Lastly, there is a perversion of justice. If we have these 4 reasons, then and then only should a chartered accountant, competent chartered accountant, encourage a client to file appeal. The situation in the profession across many cities I have seen, the patient is giving consultation to the surgeon. Sir, iska aap appeal file kar do. The client is advising the chartered accountant that appeal should be filed in a given case. I think the surgeon is responsible for the state of affairs in the market. If we identify that a certain issue, it is advisable to discharge the demand, client will be in a far better position in a few years' time than to contest a matter and then discover that that dispute had no merit on the taxpayer's position. So let's keep this background in mind, and I'm trying to share this with in as many platforms as I get the opportunity to encourage members to choose wisely, advise responsibly about appellate remedy. Now, how should we go about having identified that the appeal should be filed? This is not a case where the client cannot afford to pay the tax, or the client is not happy with the interpretation, or that the client has taken a position that is not agreed by the officer. Reasons for which appeal is not justified is not applicable in this case. Reasons why appeal is necessary exist in a particular case. When a taxpayer takes that position, then we have to identify what should be done in a given case. Whenever we look at the process of filing appeal, drafting of appeals, filing, the process, there are more sessions planned. Very insightfully, I must add that once this background is set, then going into the statutory provisions and the rules related to that will make a lot of sense. I agree with that approach. So therefore, this line of conversation that we have this evening is to focus on how to identify whether it is a fit case to carry the matter in appeal or not. Once we have established its fitness, then we have to examine what relief should be sought. Please bear in mind, first of all, we must bring to the surface that the appeal warrants intervention by the appellate authority. The reason why I say this is, appellate authorities will first apply their minds to examine whether they should dismiss the appeal or not. See, dismissal of appeal is not only in case of a defective appeal. I'm not even talking about a defective appeal. A proper appeal filed validly in accordance with the timelines and the prescriptions of the rules, appeal is filed validly, but still the appellate authority must consider and will consider dismissing the appeal. And I will tell you why. Appellate authority is not adjudicating authority of higher rank. एक बार किसी ने देख लिया डॉक्यूमेंट्स, अभी वापस से आप भी देखो, क्या पता आपको कुछ ज्यादा समझ में आ जाए. Please bear in mind, appellate authority is not required to reappreciate the original evidence. See, there is already an assistant commissioner, a deputy commissioner, a commercial tax officer, a superintendent. Somebody has applied his mind to the facts, reached a conclusion. Once a conclusion has been reached, unless it can be shown that that conclusion is not merely capable of yet another view, but only after showing that that conclusion reached is so bad that in the eyes of law, it must be interfered with by an appellate authority to ensure that the law is implemented correctly. The conclusion reached by the adjudicating authority is so bad and so perverse that except by an urgent intervention by the appellate authority, the law will get abused in the hands of the adjudication process. That is the reason why appellate authority will interfere. I'll give an example to contrast this. I'll try and see as many examples as we can offer. 129, vehicle is intercepted. There is some discrepancy as far as e-way bill part B is concerned. Officer has invoked 129(1)(a), imposed 200% penalty, recovered it, released the vehicle. Party is not happy saying that because of Circular 64, I can still carry the matter in appeal and chance pe dance. Try and see if I can get refund of this 200%. Reduce it to 5,000 rupees. Reduce it to 500 rupees. Now the appellate authority will examine, is it a case that comes within 129 1A? Yes. Has somebody applied their mind? Yes. An answer has emerged. Yes. No interference warranted. See, all of us have written CA final indirect tax paper. All of us have passed the exam, but none of our answers will be exactly the same. Word for word will never be the same. If we say all adjudication orders must be carried in appeal, and appellate authority, just because an appeal has been filed, he must give a different answer, is complete misunderstanding of the appellate process. Then we must have as many appellate authorities as there are field officers. As many appellate authorities as there are field officers, because appellate authority has to redo adjudication, if that is the expectation. Appeal is not to redo adjudication. So the first aspect that we have to examine in a fit case to file appeal, what is it that we are stating in the appeal that shows urgent need for intervention by the appellate authority, failing which the law will stand abused. So therefore, if we are able to show that without interfering, the law will stand abused, appellate authority is welcome. Friends, I'm telling you, appellate authority is welcome to dismiss 100% of the appeals filed before her. There is no obligation for the appellate authority to consider the appeal, examine it, and arrive at some answer merely because somebody has filed appeal. Yes, taxpayer has a right to file appeal, and yes, appellate authority has a duty to dismiss unless intervention has not been demonstrated and justifiably demonstrated. So when we look at an appeal, just because yet another view is possible, that alone does not support justifiable appeal. It is a fit appeal, but it may not have been justified correctly. Now let's examine one step further. A fit case for appeal has been filed properly, but no justification is forthcoming. Appellate authority will dismiss the appeal. And when appellate authority dismisses the appeal, let us imagine we go to tribunal saying, how can this appellate authority dismiss this appeal? If we carry the matter to tribunal, please bear in mind, tribunal will only examine if the appellate authority's order is bad in law or not. An appellate authority, while dismissing the appeal, will record reasons why she considers interference not warranted. I'll give an example. We'll take same 129 example and examine what are the grounds for dismissal. Appellate authority says the appeal has been filed according to the provisions of law. Adjudicating authority, who is the respondent appears to have applied their mind to the facts and reached a conclusion in accordance with law. On perusal of the grounds of appeal raised by the appellant expects second round adjudication in the hands of appellate authority, since there is nothing perverse in the adjudication order that has been brought out, since a responsible officer vested with authority and law has applied their mind and reached a lawful conclusion, the appeal does not warrant interference, hence appeal dismissed. Take this order, go to tribunal and ask, will tribunal direct the appellate authority to redo adjudication? Absolutely not. Tribunal will find nothing wrong in this order because this is a good order, speaking order, reasoned order, supported by law. Tribunal will say the order is good, therefore there is nothing to be done. Friends, I'm telling you, this is how tribunals will dismiss appeals filed against dismissal orders of first appellate authority. So therefore, I cannot emphasize any more than to bring this point for your kind consideration. At the first instance, It should be a fit appeal. At the next instance, the justification for interference by appellate authority must be very explicitly brought out in the appeal. Thereafter, we will go into the grounds. Drafting of appeal session will help you discuss the grounds of appeal that has to be drafted, how it has to be drafted, how you should not introduce case law into the grounds of appeal, how 100-page appeal does not ensure a favorable outcome, how favorable outcome can come in 5-page appeal also. Those things somebody else is going to deal with this topic for your consideration. When we look at appellate remedy, please now keep in mind what you want. I will just deviate a little bit and tell you 2 principles to consider. Pre-notice stages. Pre-notice stage means show cause, before receiving show cause notice, the approach of the taxpayer should be to provide all the factual information, give all the information, provide all the facts. But when it comes to interpretation of the facts, the taxpayer could weaken the case to win the case. Before show cause notice, approach is to weaken the case to win the case. Taxpayer is not required to do 2A 3B reconciliation, R1 3B reconciliation, E-way bill 3B reconciliation. Before August 23, taxpayer was not required to claim full ITC and do full reversal. Taxpayer could claim net credit. So therefore, please keep in mind, pre-notice stages weaken the case to win the case. Post-notice stage, strengthen the case to win the appeal. Strengthen the case to win the appeal. How will you strengthen the case? In appeal, please be very careful. What you don't ask cannot be given. What you don't ask cannot be given. What you ask must be examined, finding reached, and conclusion arrived at. I'll give you an example. Let's take an example where there is an order passed under section 62. Best judgment assessment. Under section 62, assessee has not filed returns. Under section 62, assessee has not filed returns because that month he did not have any turnover. Officer conducted a best judge. He issued a notice under section 46 in GSTR 3A, waited for 15 days and passed an order because 62 is not a notice, 62 is an order. In ASMT 13 with DRC 7, arriving at 25 crore liability. When you're doing a worst judgment assessment, it does not require you to be reasonable. 25 crore liability is arrived at, and an order has been passed under section 62. Now the remedy for the taxpayer is to file returns within 30 days, now extended to 60 days. If he files the returns within 60 days, the order of best judgment will be deemed to be withdrawn, automatically withdrawn. But if he files it on the 70th day, if he files the returns, the liability discharged through the returns also will be accepted and appropriated, and the liability arrived at in the best judgment order will also go into recovery. So now the taxpayer has to consider how to get the best judgment order set aside. Now you please consider, on the 70th day, assessee cannot say, I will not file appeal. No, but I already paid the tax. Let us say, according to him, the liability is 30 crores. He has filed returns, paid 30 crores. Still, he has a 25 crore sword hanging on his head. Since he did not file returns within 60 days, he will have to file an appeal under 107(1) to get this 25 crore demand set aside. Now you please consider the 2 options I am telling you. In the appeal, what options assessee can consider? I will give you 2 options. Option number A, assessee now raises certain questions in the appeal regarding correctness of the turnover determined. How the turnover was arrived at, how 25 crore liability was arrived at, while arriving at 25 crore liability, why ITC benefit was not allowed? These are the questions that the assessee opens up in the appeal. This is option number A. Now, when an option like this is considered in the appeal, obviously the appellate authority now will have to pass a ruling, whether the turnover was arrived at correctly, whether the ITC should have been allowed, so on and so forth. I will give you option number B, which I would prefer. Short point to be mentioned in appeal: return filed on 70th day, all taxes discharged as accurately as per books of accounts and not on best judgment basis. Therefore, best judgment order liable to be set aside. Third point, 10 days delay is because of following reasons. If a justification for 10 days delay is concerned, even appellate authority cannot enter into the returns filed. If you ask questions, answer has to be provided. Ask questions wisely. Don't ask unnecessary questions. Many times it is a fault of consultants. Somehow, length of the appeal papers is directly proportional to the fees charged for the appellate work. If you're charging 1 lakh fees, appeal document must be 100 pages. Bekar ke case law. Please bear in mind, everybody knows success is measured by result, not by effort. All chartered accountants here know this very well. So therefore, let us focus on what is the litigation strategy. Please don't think 100 grounds if you raise, you will win the case. 100 case law, if you insert, you will not win the case. Choose wisely what questions must be raised. If it's a 62 order where on the 70th day appeal returns have been filed, those returns can anyway be taken up for scrutiny under 61 or audit under 65. Where is the reason for opening up new questions? Please bear in mind, appellate authority is already tired after having put in 20 years of service. Jitna kam kaam do, utne fayde mein rahoge. Please find a shortcut for getting conclusion to appeal. The shortest route to get a conclusion to the appeal, we should find and point in that direction. What is it that we want the appellate authorities intervention for? Unko karna kya hai? Please bear in mind, he should not go back into adjudicating authorities' shoes. Therefore, what is the question? Fit case, justification for intervention, short question to be answered. When you're examining these aspects, take support of rights, remedies, safeguards available in the law that are abused. Few examples. 75(7) says grounds on which show cause notice is issued, on the same grounds order must be passed. Show cause notice issue, for example, show cause notice issued demanding output tax on other income, discount received from supplier. Show cause notice issued demanding output tax on discount other income, which is in respect of discount received from supplier. Adjudication order passed confirming reversal of credit under Rule 37. You see what's happened. Show cause notice was demanding output tax on other income, which is discount received from supplier. Order of adjudication passed confirming reversal of ITC under Rule 37. In appeal, short question, 75(7) violated an adjudication order. Show cause notice was for output tax. Order is for reversal of ITC. How can the appellate authority confirm this order? Please bear in mind, before appellate authority, show cause notice is not open. It will be submitted as documents necessary in the course of disposal of the order. Before the appellate authority, the adjudication order is open. In the adjudication, what is it that is erroneous? Is it wrong facts, wrong law, wrong facts to right law, right facts to wrong law? These aspects have to be brought out So a short question is sufficient. Sir, how can appellate authority reject a ground that 75(7) has been violated? Impossible. Impossible for anyone to reject the ground that 75(7) has been violated in this case. Another example. Books not matching with 3B. Books not matching with 3B. Books has turnover of 100. Turnover in 3B is 70. So officer has demanded tax at 18% on 30. Now the question is, what is in your reply to the notice? If taxpayer has given reconciliation of this 30 rupees, taxpayer is finished. Short objection raised in the show cause notice. Show cause notice says, I don't understand. Reply to show cause notice says, I don't understand the show cause notice. How you decided 18%? Please tell me what is the HSN code you are using. If you don't give me HSN code, I don't know what is your allegation. Adjudicating authority got upset, confirm the demand, matter now in appeal. In appeal, we are asking the question, without HSN code, how can demand be confirmed at 18%? Without HSN code, how can demand be? Maybe it is 28, maybe it is 5, who knows what it is. So therefore, friends, please be extremely vigilant. Strengthen the case after show cause notice to win in appeal. Before show cause notice, weaken the case to win the case. When you visualize it from this point of view, grounds will emerge. What grounds should be raised? What grounds should not be raised? What grounds should be raised? What grounds should not be raised? If you identify facts, I'll give another example. 2A, 3B, world famous show cause notice. Everyone has got 2A, 3B notice. For the same period, I have got 2 show cause notice saying 2A is not matching 3B with totally different amounts. So these things happen. So when you visualize it from this point of view, in appeal, 2A itself is erroneous. Let us say that is the ground. Circular 183 and 193 has to be followed. That is a different matter. To follow 183, I must first agree that 2A is correct. 2A contains block credits also, or 2A does not contain block credits. 2A is 100, 3B is 60, show cause notice issued for 40. This 100, does it contain block credits or not? Yes. Block credits is 50. If you remove 50, then the demand should be much more, not 40 rupees. It has to be much more. So therefore, 2A considered for the show cause notice is erroneous. Now the question is, appellate authority has to first pass reach a finding that 2A is correct. Without showing that 2A is correct, difference between 2A and 3B cannot be examined. If you don't finish intermediate, you cannot enter final. If you are entered final, then it is assumed you have finished intermediate. If assessee does not question correctness of 2A, then examining difference of arguing about 2A, 3B difference assumes that 2A is correct. So please be very careful in the show cause reply, in the adjudication process, in the appeal. What is the assessee's stand about the allegation? Allegation not disputed become facts. Is 2A correct document? No. An incorrect document is taken for comparison and I am giving reconciliation for this. How is it possible? All right. R1 is not matching 3B. Difference of tax, demand is raised. Instruction number 1 of 22, 7 January 22 says there are many reasons why R1 will not match 3B. There can be bona fide reasons also. I think para number 3.2. Bona fide reasons also may be there for such differences. Direct recovery action under 7512 read with 79 is not permitted. When the instruction of the board says R1 and 3B may not match for genuine reason, how conclusion was reached in the adjudication order that R1 was correct? Friends, please bear in mind, we have to visualize what mistakes have been committed in the show cause notice reply stage, what facts existed at the show cause notice stage that has entered the order, and which of those facts have to be cleaned up in appeal. Please bear in mind, when you go to tribunal, they are only going to read appellate authority order. When you go to High Court under 117, only tribunal order they will read. So therefore, we have to be very careful when it comes to facts taken on record, whether we accept, reject, or replace the facts. If there is something stated to be a fact, we can accept that fact. Yes, I agree, this is a fact. If we don't agree with the fact, we have to reject the fact. To reject the fact does not create a responsibility to tell what is the alternate fact. To reject the fact does not create responsibility to say what is the alternate fact. Books not matching with 3B. Without telling me what is the HSN code, you cannot confirm demand. Okay, now you tell me what is the actual reason for the difference. At appellate stage, you cannot redo audit. At appellate stage, you cannot redo audit. So therefore, facts are rejected, not replaced. Alternatively, assessee may choose not only to reject the fact, but correct it by replacing it with alternate facts. This is not the fact, that is the fact. If you start introducing alternate facts, burden will now shift onto the assessee to say that the alternative is reliable. I'll give an example. Books are not matching with 3B. Another example. Assessee says the difference is due to zero rated supply. Assessee is due to zero rated supply. Now officer has to keep quiet. Officer only has to ask the assessee, Acha, to accept that the difference is zero rated, sabit karo. Please bring all the documents. Goods hai to shipping bill lao. Services hai to invoice. Place of supply. Foreign currency remittance. So the monkey will shift onto the assessee's back. The monkey of burden of proof which was on the officer will now shift onto the assessee. So therefore, please be very, very careful. At this point, I will introduce this one thought that I have. In tax litigation, truth does not matter. Facts matter. Facts are allegations supported by evidence, or facts are allegation left undisputed. If you don't dispute an allegation, it becomes fact. I'll give an example. Assessee has received foreign currency from a customer outside India. Assessee has received foreign currency from a customer outside India. Assessee has not paid any tax, not reported this receipt in GST returns, treating it in the balance sheet as reimbursement of expenses for the project. Department conducts audit, finds out there is some receipts which are not reported in the financials or in the returns, comes to conclusion that these reimbursements do not satisfy Rule 33 pure agent reimbursement. In accounting terminology, it may be reimbursement, but from a GST point of view, it is not reimbursement. So therefore, department demands 18% tax on this reimbursement amount received. Now you please see what is the fact on record. The fact is, it is a claim made by the assessee on a customer outside India. Fact is that the customer is outside India. Fact is that the assessee is inside India. Fact is that payment has been received. Fact is that payment is received in convertible foreign exchange. There is no discussion about place of supply. The only point assessee has to introduce is, only new information assessee has to introduce is, place of supply falls under 13.2. There is nothing to say that place of supply falls under 13.8. So, or any other subsection of section 13. Since this is not goods, it has to be service. Assessee gets support from the show cause notice itself. There is evidence in the show cause notice itself, because whatever is stated in the show cause notice, that which is a factual information, assessee can take recourse to it. Now, appellate authority will not be in a position to say that it is not export. How will appellate authority say it is not export? To say it is not export, either the recipient must be inside India, that is not there, or payment should be received in Indian currency before the Corona amendment, or place of supply must be outside India. To say place of supply is not in India, HSN code is required. If you know the classification, then only you can place it under 13.3, 13.8, other provisions. When you don't know the HSN code, can anybody introduce new facts in appeal stage? Whoever introduces new facts will be answerable later to say that this is a new fact. So friends, please bear in mind, wisdom is to keep quiet in this case, claim that it is zero rated supply. All the documents needed to show it is zero rated supply are already available in the adjudication order. Assessee has to get relief in this particular case. So I will pause here and present to you this proposition. First point, examine a fit case to appeal. Second point, bring out justification for intervention by appellate authority. Third, arrive at a strategy for appeal. Let me submit also here that with great concern I say this. Most appeals filed are rubbish. It is very long. There is no strategy behind it. It contains all possible grounds: relevant, not relevant, useful, not useful, strategic, not strategic. Most appeals are filed keeping in mind quantum of fees. If the fees is more, appeal document will become bulky. Fees is less, appeal document will not be so bulky. I would only submit. And this is out of great concern, not that I want to put anybody down. It is out of great concern that we should approach appellate work with caution and strategy. What should I ask in the appeal that it will help my cause in this appeal, or if I have to go on further appeal? Please be very careful. When you look at the relief that can be allowed by the appellate authority, we must prepare our grounds in such a way that what are the findings to be reached? If you find out place of supply, the conclusion will be obvious. Bring out the findings that need to be reached. I'll mention this one aspect for you to please consider. We know what facts are. Facts are also defined in Evidence Act of 1872. There's something called fact in issue. If you decide this fact, that issue will get settled. For example, if you decide place of supply, export of service will be automatically solved. If you decide it is goods, classification will automatically emerge. If you decide they are related parties, valuation provisions will automatically attract. If you decide it is a dealer of second-hand goods, Rule 32(5) will automatically get attracted. When you look at it from this point of view, we need to know where is the switch, where is the bulb. We are focusing only on the bulb. Oh, this answer I want, this answer I want. If we focus on the switch, if I press the switch here, if the fact in issue is addressed here, the answer will become obvious. That is what we have to identify. So the next challenge for members to consider is, you know the fact that has to be found, but do you know the fact in issue that you should help find? If you satisfy place of supply, export is satisfied. If you satisfy classification, time of supply is satisfied. If you identify these questions, then those grounds will become very relevant, because appellate authority also is aware, whether first appellate authority or tribunal, they are both aware that any error in finding of a fact become a question of law. How can you make an error like this? So therefore, when you're finding a fact, evidence is important. So therefore, that brings us to the next aspect. Appellate authority is a fact-finding authority. appellate authority has power to do what is called conduct such further inquiry as may be necessary. It is there in 107.11 and 113.1. Conduct such further inquiry as may be necessary. So when you examine that the appellate authority also has investigative powers, please bear in mind that this investigative powers is within the boundaries of the show cause notice. Show cause notice, adjudication order, within those two documents and the parties' reply, whatever are the facts on record, only that must be examined. Appellate authority, especially state tax authorities, are in the habit of saying, please bring 26 AS. Please bring books of accounts. Please bring bills, vouchers. क्योंकि appellate authority पहले adjudicating authority रह चुके हैं, तो आदत से मजबूर प्लीज ब्रिंग बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स. तकलीफ यह है कि लाइन लगा के खड़े हैं. पीपल आर स्टैंडिंग इन ए क्यू विद बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स बिफोर appellate authority. I will present this challenge for you to please consider. Ask yourself whether you are willing to tell the appellate authority with folded hands if necessary, dear sir, dear madam, I decline to produce books of accounts at such a late stage of the proceedings. है आप में ये बात? Can you tell the appellate authority respectfully, I decline to produce books of accounts? If you are able to, in your mind, visualize such a situation may come, for such a situation I have an answer, then you will be better prepared to see how you will frame your strategy as far as your appeal is concerned. During appeal, the case must get more and more refined as it progresses. The case cannot become broader. One of my early experiences in VAT, I filed an appeal with 3 issues. All 3 were against me in assessment. I filed an appeal, 3 issues were against me. I went and filed appeal. I got appellate order with 8 issues against me. Kabil officer, so many new things he introduced. Then we had to go to tribunal and struggle to get those 5 new issues set aside. But the question arises is, are you doing anything in your preparation to file appeal that will broaden the appeal scope, or are you making it narrow? Ask a question, you will get an answer. If you don't ask a question, answer cannot be invented and introduced into the appellate order, because that itself will make the appellate order perverse, requiring urgent intervention by appellate tribunal. We'll deviate a little and talk about another aspect and come back here. How many think that in appeal you will win the case? Everybody are such positive people that every day we get disappointed. आशावादी को रोज निराश होना पड़ता है. Please bear in mind, every issue will get resolved at a particular stage in the life of that notice. If it is not a blanket to say all issues will get resolved only in higher forum. Some issues will get resolved at adjudication stage. Some issues will get resolved in first appeal. Some issues will get resolved in tribunal. Some issues have to minimum go above tribunal. इस बात का अंदाजा होना चाहिए कि कौन सी बात कहां रिजॉल्व होगी. It is not possible to think that everything CTO only will resolve, state tax officer only will resolve. Then it is complete lack of strategy. So therefore, when you identify the issues as part of your strategy are concerned, please identify which can get resolved at adjudication level, keep that separate. Which can get resolved at first appeal, keep that separate. Which must go to higher appeal, keep that separate. Be prepared with pre-deposit. Because we get disappointed every time somebody disagrees with us. Now we'll take another aspect. What is the purpose of giving a notice? In GST, what is the purpose of giving a notice? The purpose of giving a notice is to see if additional revenue can be mobilized. Simple. Let us call it what it is. After all, we are in this closed group among our professional brothers and sisters. We can agree that is it possible to interpret the same law in a different way in these facts and raise additional revenue? If it is possible, it must be tried. And officer is not wrong for trying. After all, officer, she is doing her job. Officer's job is to examine what new interpretation is possible in a given context. So therefore, please don't think that this is a friendly match. This is an adversarial litigation. दोनों साइड आमने सामने हैं, and कोशिश ये है कि ये इंटरप्रिटेशन जो निकाला गया है उसका करे क्या, how to come out with this. So therefore, in appeal, we will only understand that what is it that can be done at each stage must be very clearly understood. I'll give an example of issues that cannot be resolved in first appeal. 16.4. 16.4 is an issue that will reach minimum tribunal. 16.4 is an issue that will reach minimum tribunal, so don't waste your time and effort with elaborate submissions in adjudication or appeal. Submit all that is necessary so that tomorrow in higher forum, you have brought out all those points. Whatever is the ruling will be the ruling. It is not possible for an adjudicating authority to drop the 16.4 demand just because you have begged and pleaded for 2 hours and your files are very neatly arranged and submitted. So therefore, be very clear which one will get resolved at which level. Next, if the other side is willing to commit mistakes, if the other side is determined to commit mistakes, what should you do? I would only submit, please provide all the facts necessary to reach the correct conclusion and not commit the mistake. But if somebody is decided to commit a mistake, kindly permit that person to commit the mistake. फायदेमंद होगा साहब आगे जाके. So therefore, please visualize, is there a strategy? Next aspect, don't beg. I have seen many drafts. The drafts are written in such a way that if the person was actually standing before you, you will be on the floor with your face to the ground, prostrating in front of that officer to give you the relief. Please consider, appellate authority is also an officer of the law who has a duty to examine the correctness of the adjudication order on the grounds on which it is attacked in the appeal memo. No favors, no friendship, no kindness, no justice. Please remove all these expectations from your mind. I will also add this point. Officers of the tax department are not custodians of justice. Officers of the tax department are not custodians of justice. Their job is not to do justice. Their job is to follow the procedure. Justice will take care of itself. That's the beauty of GST law. Everybody must just follow the procedure. Justice will take care of itself. I'll give you 2 examples. Assessee eligible for refund. Refund application filed on 25th month. Can the officer grant the refund? Answer is no. What about justice? Next, Officer supposed to give show cause notice before 30th September. Show cause notice given on 3rd October, Monday. All right, Monday or Tuesday this year. Can the demand be recovered? Answer is no. So please, let's not overdo justice. Justice is taken care by Parliament by giving a law that is just. But justice is not given in the hands of any individuals, then it will lead to undesirable things in tax administration. Everybody must follow procedure, and procedure के नुकसान procedure के दौरान अगर नुकसान उठाना पड़े तो उठाओ, दोनों साइड की. This is applicable for both sides. So therefore, please be extremely vigilant. No begging. We have to reboot our language. Most respectfully, utmost respectfully, most humbly, folded hands, falling on the feet, falling to the ground. Please don't do all this. It is not even suited to the dignity of our institute. We have to be respectful, but we should not beg. Next aspect to mention is, if we don't provide some information, if we don't want to provide some information, we have to state that in plain words. Respectfully, we decline to provide so and so new information that is now being requested. The reason why we have to be very clear is, as a society, all of us, we don't know how to say no. If we say no, then it is a disrespect. Somebody says, will you come tomorrow at 4 o'clock? We don't say no. We say yes, but join at 4:30. If we say no, the other person will get upset. We don't want to upset anybody. We will upset the person by going late. And then we will give explanation that there is too much traffic in Bangalore. Everybody in Bangalore knows there is too much traffic. So therefore, friends, be very clear about the difference between respect and ambiguous. Being respectful in your statements, being ambiguous about your statements is two different things. The reason why we have to state very clearly is so that the other side gets the chance now to decide what they want to do next. I'll give an example. When any notice is issued, the tendency is to give 50-page reply containing justification, why, what, how, etc., etc., etc. A reply is not a justification. A reply is a stand we are taking. Now the other person has to decide what they want to do. I'll give a small, in a social interaction, I will give a small example. Somebody asks me, JG asks me, Jatin, will you join tomorrow at 4 o'clock? My reply, no. No. What will JG say? Why you will not join? What are you doing? All that is not the concern of the person to whom I have given the answer. I have given an answer that I will not come tomorrow. अभी वो जाने कि आगे क्या करना है, किसी और को बुलाना है या नहीं बुलाना है, कि प्रोग्राम कैसे चलाना है, वो जाने. So please be very clear about the purpose of a reply. A reply is not a justification. It is a disclosure of your position. Now you bring that in the context of appeal. Appellate grounds lay down the reason for your unhappiness with the adjudication order. You are not happy with the order for this ground. The ground will not contain arguments. The ground will not contain arguments. When we speak about arguments, I want to bring up this point about case law. Chartered accountants generally are in a, I get calls regularly. कोई लेटेस्ट केस लॉ है क्या 16(4) के बारे में? मतलब लेटेस्ट, ताजा ताजा, अभी भी गर्मा गर्म लेटेस्ट केस लॉ है कोई? नहीं है, ठीक है, रखो फोन. वी वांट केस लॉ not bothering about whether that case, the facts of that case are relevant in my case context or not. So I would only submit. Consider this example. In one of the grounds, I have said the adjudication order has not followed Safari Retreat's decision. The adjudication order has not followed Safari Retreat's decision. Adjudication order is contrary to Orissa High Court decision. What will happen? By the time my case comes up for hearing, maybe Safari Retreats has been overturned by a contrary decision coming from, let us say, Rajasthan High Court. Now what will happen? In appeal, the ground was Safari Retreat. The ground was not all judgments against this interpretation in the adjudication order. So therefore, friends, grounds that we urge have to be with great planning and strategy as to how we are going to raise this issue. Another very important aspect I want to bring for your urgent consideration is section 108. When we're talking about appeal, why are we talking about 108? I'll tell you why. I'm sure somebody else is going to spend a lot of time discussing revision under 108, but please keep in mind, order passed by appellate authority can be overturned by revisionary authority under 108, and there is 3 years time for doing that. So therefore, please be very careful. Refine the issues and make it smaller and smaller as the case progresses further and further, because you don't want to allow so many things to be considered in the appellate order that it becomes a challenge and gets opened up in 108 proceedings. So this is something that is regularly told in trainings for departmental officers, including appellate authorities, is when you write an order, please keep in mind that your order is not read only by the taxpayer. Your order will be read by an appellate authority, a court, or a revisionary authority also. When they read the order, they should not find anything wrong in your order. So therefore, orders have to be written keeping in mind that somebody else with lot more time is on their hands is going to sit and scrutinize the correctness, the merits, the validity, and the accuracy of this order. So therefore, as a taxpayer, please be very careful. Do not expose too many aspects in the course of appeal. I'll give you an example why. Now, appellate authority has passed a favorable order to the assessee. Department is not happy with that order. So there is a reference made to revisionary authority. Now, revisionary authority under section 108 decides to take up this case. Let us say it is a refund. Inverted tax refund has been granted to fertilizer distributors. So refund has been granted. There was a small amount of rejection, matter carried in appeal. In appeal, it was decided that the refund should be sanctioned. Refund was subsequently sanctioned. Now, revisionary authority examines this case and comes to conclusion that fertilizer subsidy is given to the farmer, not to the distributor. So therefore, refund should not have been granted. Now, audit officers, they have inspectors, lot of staff to do a detailed audit. They have a lot of documents and information. How will revisionary authority take up this case and overturn this order? If you look at 108, very limited time and resources are available. Limitation is 3 years, but once the case is selected within 1 year, they have to conclude this. So therefore, revisionary authority could start looking at the file to examine where from I can get lot of information about this particular case. You know where from revisionary authority will get lot of information about the case? It is in the show cause notice reply and the appeal document submitted by the assessee. So this brings us to the point when appeal is drafted, final version ready, about to be sent to client for discussions, I will only submit. Please call the editor shooting is over, film is ready, all set to go into post-production, call the editor to do cuts. Cuts have to be done. जरूरत से ज्यादा कुछ है, काटो. काम का बात नहीं है तो काटो. कल को तकलीफ लाने लायक कोई बात है तो काटो. Please cut out what is going to be dangerous tomorrow. Please don't have anything surplus, anything excess, anything unnecessary, because we are all in the habit of taking extra answer paper to write 3-hour paper. Students who got rank in CA may not have taken extra answer paper, but all of us have taken extra answer paper, knowing that if you write too much, kam se kam ye paper to nikal jayega. Please bear in mind, my submission is, examine very carefully what you should not have said, which inadvertently during drafting has been said. Because if you don't bring out an issue, appellate authority cannot introduce that issue. If you don't bring out some new issue, appellate authority cannot introduce that issue. Now we will bring another aspect into consideration. Appellate authority will be visualizing how to go about this case. You should point out the way to conclude this appeal during your arguments. When hearing is granted, you should be able to show the way to reach a conclusion out of this case, and that should be the shortest route possible. It should not be a very complicated declaration of law sort of decision. Please declare 16(4) ultra vires. After all, first, appellate authority and tribunal are functionaries created by the law. They cannot sit and examine the law itself. They will only interpret the law and find the application of that law. So therefore, please be very careful to point out the shortest route to a conclusion. I invite you to please look at second proviso to 107(11). Or before that, let me point you to one important aspect. If you see 107(11), very clearly it says, appellate authority shall, etc., 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 confirm, modify, annul the demand. Confirm, modify, annul. Can the appellate authority enhance the demand? Can the appellate authority enhance the demand? We have to find a basis, because the word modify is there. Confirm is same as the adjudication order. Modify, don't know the meaning. Annul is make it 0. Same as the order or 0. What is this modify? We have to find a way to interpret this. If you look at section 108(1), there it says confirm, enhance. It says enhance, modify, annul. 107(11) says confirm, modify, annul. 108(1) says enhance, modify, annul. If legislature wanted to allow enhancing powers to adjudicate, wanted to give enhancement powers to adjudicate appellate authority, then legislature can use the word enhance in 108(1). Why did they not use it in 107(11) becomes a question. So therefore, the next rule of interpretation, there is something called words of rank. When many words are used and they follow a particular order, descending order or ascending order, then when you use ejusdem generis, it has to be based on that rank itself. For example, iron, aluminium, copper. If there is a rank used like this, iron, aluminium, copper, then gold and silver cannot be introduced in this list, because gold and silver are higher in rank than aluminium, iron, aluminium, and copper. So this is a rule of interpretation. You can read some good book on interpretation of statutes to understand the concept of words of rank, and you will find that that has an application here. Next aspect of caution. Second proviso to 107(11) says, where there is a additional liability, then the appellate authority should not confirm the demand without issuing a notice, subject to the time limits under section 73 or 74 as the case may be. Friends, please bear in mind, there is a doubt whether appellate authority can also issue a show cause notice. If you see the definition in 2 subsection 4 of adjudicating authority, very clearly it says adjudicating authority will not include appellate authority. If adjudicating authority will not include appellate authority or tribunal, how can appellate authority carry out adjudication functions? So the proviso must be read only to the extent that if there is any reasons to correct what is stated in the adjudication order. I will give you one example. Let us say there is a adjudication order demanding 28% on tobacco products. And in that, there is a mistake that they have not computed cess. If it is tobacco, cess has to be applied. In such instances or such similar instances, there is a provision for appellate authority to issue a notice. What else is the source of this interpretation? If you read section 109, rule 109C, we'll find a reference that for withdrawal of an appeal, before a show cause notice is issued under 107(11), or it is taken up for disposal, is what it says. So therefore, friends, please be very careful. Appellate authority has limited power to raise a demand, issue a notice. So when you are looking at drafting an appeal, please be very careful. What relief can be given by appellate authority? Restrict your pleadings to that much only. Please don't ask for things like declare this law as illegal, declare this rule as ultra-virus, declare this circular as non-binding, we have to be very cautious not to make ostentatious statements, because there is another forum in 117. We can go to High Court to bring up this question. We can go to Supreme Court and 118 to bring up these questions, but we cannot bring up questions. What can be granted, that much only must be sought. Deep understanding must exist as far as what can and cannot be granted at each forum. That becomes very important. Next aspect to consider very quickly in the limited time that we have is to examine the question about when we are looking at the appeal being raised, what relief is possible? What is this forum of appeal? How do we avail the benefit of this forum? Appeal is a place where the anxiety of investigation and audit does not exist. So therefore, what facts have to be considered, what facts should be excluded, must be carefully examined. So I will give you this, I will request you to recollect the part we discussed earlier about accept, reject, replace. So my question to you is, when you file appeal, the focus should be less about the law and more about the facts. Why do I say this? Refine the facts taken on record. There is some amount of facts that were given during pre-notice stages. Some were accepted, some were not accepted, some were understood, some were not understood. Finally, something came about in the adjudication order. Now, when you go in appeal, ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this question. Is there any refinement necessary to the facts taken on record? I'll give a small example. Rice bran, de-oiled rice bran. What is the difference? Rice bran, de-oiled rice bran. What is the difference? Friends, let me tell you, many, and we're not going into that, the difference of these two. I'm only submitting that there are many times that we ignore the facts. We are so interested in arguing about the 16.4, 16.2a, 16.2b. We are focusing so much about the classification. We're focusing so much about the merits of the case. We forget to refine the facts. My submission is only that. Ask yourself, are the facts correctly stated in the adjudication order? Is there any error in the facts that you should ensure in appeal it is corrected? In appeal it is corrected, so that if you have to go on further appeal, you are not going with wrong facts. You're not going with wrong facts, but facts are corrected. Now you are going only on the question of interpretation of those facts or application of the law to the facts correctly taken on record. Many times, facts are erroneous in appellate orders also. Now, what should the next appeal consider as the fact? It is this reason that tribunal is the last fact-finding authority and not the first appellate authority. Facts have to be brought out very clearly and taken on record so that many times errors in the facts, if it is corrected, the answer will become very evident. I'll give an example. There is a rice mill. The rice mill has charged 5% GST in respect of its milling operations. The rice mill has sold husk. Rice mill has sold husk. On the husk, there is no GST. On the bran, they have paid, let us say, 5% GST. Now the question is, sale of husk, sale of bran, is it a sale of goods or supply of services? The answer, if it comes to your mind as obviously it is sale of goods, I would only encourage you to please pause and allow me to explain some concept. If there is a sale, what does the rice mill do? They don't purchase paddy. They receive paddy, they do milling operations and return the paddy. They will collect job working charges. Now the question is, somebody who collects job working charges, how can they sell bran and husk? For sale of goods to exist, there must be purchase of goods. Where is the purchase of bran, purchase of husk? If there is no purchase, there can never be a sale of goods. If it is not a supply of goods, it is a supply of service. Friends, we are failing to capture the facts correctly on record. We know it in our mind. We have it in our papers. Are we doing everything necessary to ensure that the facts are correctly brought on record? So for that, my submission is, appeal has been drafted. Resource persons will come and share with you about drafting of the appeal. Preparation for arguments during hearing. Please make 2 parts in a short synopsis. Help the appellate authority in the course of drafting the order. Facts, interpretation of facts. Facts, interpretation of facts must be differentiated in a very crisp manner so that appellate authority does not have to find out what facts have to be brought on record on her own. If you assist the appellate authority in getting the facts correctly, you will get relief later, now or later, because the facts does not contain any errors. Many times we are so burdened with interpretation of law that we somehow believe that facts can be left to the tax authority to figure out and see what needs to be done. So when you look at relief in appeal, please bear in mind, there are limitations everyone has. One commissioner who told me this, मुझे भी ऊपर किसी को जवाब देना पड़ता है. The highest officer in the entire commissionerate told me this. मुझे भी ऊपर किसी को जवाब देना पड़ता है. तो किस हद तक मैं जस्टिस कर सकूं, इसमें भी थोड़ा लिमिट्स होते हैं. There are limitations as to how much justice I can do. So therefore we should be aware. सबसे ज्यादा ये बात हमको समझ में आना चाहिए. We should be aware कि कौन क्या कर सकता है, कौन क्या चीज नहीं कर सकता है. अगर सारा कुछ एक ही आदमी नहीं कर सकता है तो जिस हद तक इनसे बन पाता है उसकी मांग करनी चाहिए, और जो आगे मांगना चाहिए, those things we have to set it aside so that we're able to raise those questions in due course. So friends, I will only submit that please be very conscious that appellate work is inevitable in GST, because there are no provisions in GST that has only a single interpretation. Time of supply, place of supply, valuation, classification, good, service, deemed supply, Supply itself, there are 8 forms of supply. So therefore, when there is plurality of interpretation possible, we cannot blame anybody. Nowadays, I'm seeing so many instances where show cause notices are carried to High Court, orders are carried to High Court, but on grounds that does not bring about quashing of the notice. Hearing was not granted. Chalo, hearing वापस से करते हैं. Notice तो as no notice is anyway still there. Notice has not been quashed. So therefore, please be extremely vigilant. Department appeal is a very valuable source of getting valuable means of getting relief. We should not lose heart कि नहीं यहाँ पे तो कुछ नहीं होगा. Nothing will happen here. Please bear in mind, everything will happen to the extent we are able to make it happen. We are able to bring it out in the grounds. We are able to bring it out in our prayer. What we expect here, what we expect next level, what we expect at further level. So therefore, appellate remedies in GST is something that chartered accountants must gain mastery over, because tax experts speak of tax experts are able to get us a lot of good decisions from high courts. But how can tax experts who practice in high courts, tribunal and in high courts, how can they help when the case has not been looked after, nurtured, strengthened in the adjudication and first appeal stages? We have to be very, very careful to identify how we carry this matter further and further. To be able to address appellate work well, it only requires us to develop experience. Experience comes from handling a lot of cases. Cases come when we are able to help taxpayers. Many, many times, fees that we need to charge somehow becomes a hurdle. Professionals have a challenge that at these fee levels, I can't accept this work. Until I accept the work, I don't know how to handle the work. So I think this is a time where professional chartered accountants collaborating with each other, helping with each other, examining each other's cases, discussing with each other. And I compliment Nitesh ji for putting together this platform for all of us to come and share our thoughts. I'm sure in-person meetings, there will be more interactions, informal study group meetings, within the office meetings that take place can provide a great shot in the arm as far as how do we refine what grounds need to be taken. But let me just mention this in closing to say that appellate work is something that chartered accountants are best suited to enter into and offer their invaluable services. Appellate authority will be a great service for taxpayers to get relief today or eventually. But appellate work is the place where the greatest disservice can be done if we don't follow a strategy. I encourage all members to visualize all the cases and come up with a strategy before we launch into drafting the grounds of appeal. Let's visualize how this is going to unfold, identify what needs to be accomplished at what stages. If we examine that aspect and put a strategy in place, and I'm sure at every step of the way we will know success will not be far from those who approach this diligently. I thank the association for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share some thoughts with members. I hand over the session to JG to give his comments and for the MC to help us with the questions, if any.
Thank you, sir, for getting us through the provisions and the concept of appeal. Going into the question and answer session, we do have a few questions from our members in the chat box. I'll be reading out through them for ready reference. Sorry, sir. Vivek ji is asking, like, in most of the ongoing issues, the issues involved require challenge to the arbitrariness or feasibility of the law. How to argue at levels below High Court without challenging constitutionality of the law while fully realizing that the appellate authority cannot declare the law unconstitutional.
You can't get relief in statutory appeal when you say that the law is bad. We have to come up with ways to see what other grounds can be agitated as far as this law is concerned, as far as the grounds that can be thought of to attack this demand in the show cause notice.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, every issue which has a arbitrariness around it, has an unworkable or impossible expectation from taxpayer, will also have grounds that can be agitated before the appropriate authority. So therefore, we'll have to think through what those grounds are and then bring that forward.
Thank you, sir. So going to the next question, there is a question regarding the refund of the export on payment of taxes. Like in case the refund is not being received by the appellant or the RTP, to be very frank, where they need to appeal for, in the customs or with the GST department, and is there any timeline also for that?
See, if a refund of GST has been claimed, then the remedy lies only with the GST department. Once a refund application has been filed, on the common portal, please find out what is the status of the refund application. Third, officers are not free to ignore some claims and process some claims. They are all answerable. If you see Rule 93 very clearly, timelines are specified as far as disbursement of refunds are concerned. Fourth aspect is, if refunds are not sanctioned, interest is payable by the government under Section 56. And mind you, many instances are there where the interest payable to the taxpayer has been recovered from the salary of the officer. So therefore, officers will reject the refund but will not accept the refund and keep it pending indefinitely. So therefore, administrative joint commissioner is the right person to, if required, meet and bring to their attention the pending refund claims. But I would sense that in most refund cases, they may have already been sanctioned or rejected, but the rejection order may not have reached the taxpayer. If it's not reached, then appeal find out what is the status and file an appeal to get relief, but don't follow this process of informal follow-up to get some refunds.
So, but with regard to the refunds on the export with payment of taxes, no separate application is being made.
Of course, but this is automatic. As soon as the returns are filed, it is matched and it is automatically credited with respect to payment of tax.
So in some cases, like there has been some error in on the GST portal or while filing of the GST-1 with respect to the port code or like the shipping bill numbers. In those cases, sir, the refunds are not being realized by the customers, and the refunds are getting, and the amendment timeline has also lapsed. In those cases, the our member is asking, like, what's the remedy they have?
So now we have a situation where assessee is wrong, portal is wrong, and the system does not have a remedy. When both are wrong and timelines are crossed, what needs to be done? Taxpayer has no remedy here except to approach the High Court for suitable directions. For suitable directions, it is not within the statute that a remedy can be found. It has to be found from a court of equity.
Thank you, sir. So there is a case like a notice has come to the client whose output tax is non-GST goods. As at the time of the filing of the return, ITC has not been claimed at all. So now the department is in a position as to why it has not been claimed in 3B and then reverse it back. What could be the solution for this SCN?
See, there is no demand in this SCN. This SCN appears to be a query. Why did you not take the credit? Why did you not reverse the credit? Show cause notice can be issued only when there is non-payment, short payment, credit wrongly taken, credit wrongly utilized. So therefore, a short reply that when the allegation itself is not about credit wrongly taken or credit wrongly utilized, there remains nothing further to be said as far as the show cause notice is concerned. But if it is not a show cause notice, but a notice, nowadays I've seen it in Karnataka, it is issued under Section 39(9) that there are some errors in the return because center state revenue allocation is suffering a challenge. In those cases, some Suitable explanation needs to be provided. Credit that now cannot be taken and reversed. That the portal will itself not permit. Some clarification may be required to redress this issue.
So there has been a case like there has been a query also with this respect. Can the appellate authority take a new ground for rejection for the appeal? Like it has happened particularly with me. Like there has been a case for on filing of refund. Now what happened? Like the refund was filed under the wrong head for 0.1% of the purchase goods instead of other than category. We had filed the refund as export without payment of taxes. Now the adjudicating authority rejected the refund application considering that it has been filed under the wrong head, wrong category. Now we went for the appellate authority that it was a minor error. You kindly allow us the refund. They rejected the refund, taking a new ground that the export proceeds have not been realized within the prescribed time limit of the RBI. Can this new ground be taken by the appellate authority?
No, it is not possible. But it also depends on what is it that you have agitated in your appeal. For example, there are two ways to look at this appeal. Now, the adjudicating authority has rejected the refund saying you have filed it under the wrong category. Have you stated in the appeal that all the other conditions to be entitled to refund have been verified and found satisfactory? Or have you remained silent as far as other categories are concerned? This becomes a question. Appellate authority today has the entire adjudication order at large before him. So now appellate authority has to decide not only the category you have claimed, but also your entitlement to credit. So therefore, you may have allowed the appellate authority the freedom to go into so many other questions. Restrict the scope of inquiry in appeal so that it is within the confines. Let's say in this particular hypothetical case, the appeal had stated that all other criteria for entitlement, make a chart of all your entitlements, say all the 6 criteria saying that satisfied, form of column, category of filing, not satisfied. Now what happens? Appellate authority will not be able to change satisfied to not satisfied. Appellate authority will only have to decide not satisfied whether correct or not. So please visualize strategy. Strategy is important. Innocent people will always be disappointed because they believe innocence and truth will give them victory. Innocence without strategy is a recipe for failure.
But if, sir, something has not been taken up in the show cause notice and not also in the order, then why those satisfied?
I will only submit that please don't assume appellate authority is not very knowledgeable or smart. Please assume the other side is intelligent and smart. ये जानते हुए कि आपने अपने अपील में गलतियां करी है, उसका शायद फायदा भी उठा रहा है in context में. So therefore, please be very careful. Do not allow a free hand for someone to, just like defects in a notice will be advantage to taxpayer, defects in your approach can also be advantage. कोशिश रहेगी कि डिमांड को कैसे बचाया जाए. Please be very vigilant.
Sir, there is a question like, can a show cause notice be appealed for, or an order of assistant commissioner be appealed directly in High Court without looking for the commissioner appeal stage?
नहीं, not possible. Statutory appeal to High Court under 117 can arise only against an order under 108 from a tribunal. 113 one order only can be carried to High Court. Direct appeal to High Court is not allowed. What can be carried directly to High Court is a writ petition. In a writ petition, the show cause notice can be challenged and carried forward, so that Whirlpool versus Registrar of Trademark is a good decision to read as to which cases can go to High Court and Supreme Court, which cases should go through the normal appeal route.
Sir, I guess there is one small question, but if the company wishes to move out from the SEZ to same or supply some goods out of SEZ to the some other SEZ, will the company position be same or it has to go through the process of demodeling?
It's not pertinent to the topic today, but very short answer, if I may be permitted to share.
Please, sir.
Between two SEZs, transfer without payment of duties is permitted. Whether it is a temporary transfer or a permanent transfer, transfer between units is permitted. But if it is to be taken out of the SEZ into DTA, then only after debonding it has to be taken.
Okay. So you have talked about the importance of the strategy before drafting an appeal. Can you just entitle us just a bit more on the pointers, manners, how we should think, what point we should keep in the mind for making the strategies?
See, short response on strategy may not be fair or complete to respond. But when you look at the question that we could all ask ourselves is, when we start looking at the possibility of for filing an appeal, first of all, is it a fit case? Secondly, is it a case that justifies intervention by the appellate authority? Third is, do we know what we want? Do we know the way to get what we want? And do we know who can give us what we want? If we can identify these three things, I think we'll have a strategy in place.
Thank you, sir. So with that, we end up the question answer session. So it was great to have you on our board to have some great understanding about the strategies where you have helped us to go through the appeal, whether we can educate, what we need to understand before educating our clients, to take the sword in our hands to file an appeal or not, how to prepare for an appeal, how can we satisfy the justice. Like you said, justice will take care of itself. We just need to be careful before choosing the right track. So with those, I would like to thank you and hand over the session to Harshita.
Thank you so much, Jay sir.
Thank you.
So with this, we come towards the end of this session. I would like to offer a vote of thanks to Jatin sir for coming on board with us. His perspective and this elegance of explanation of everything. Sir, it was really a very good session. Thank you so much. We've had multiple takeaways. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. And next, I would also like to thank our chairperson, sir, C.A. Jay Agarwal. Thank you for being with us, sir. Thank you for this amazing Q&A session that you took up. And also for persuading sir, for sharing his mantra for strategy making through your questions.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. Next, I would also like to thank C.A. Nitesh Moore, sir, the president of our study circle. Thank you, Nitesh, sir. It has been your brainchild, this GST litigation course. So thank you so much for coming up with this. And I would also like to thank my co-coordinator, C.A. Pallavi Todi, for being together with me in coordinating the session. Lastly, thank you to everyone who has been attending this course. Thank you so much. Stay connected with us for day 5 tomorrow. See you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Harshita, I think we can end